Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm your host Lauren. Hopefully this is a familiar face if you've watched any of our previous webinars which are on our website, so take a look at some point at those, and a recording of this is going to go up on there as well. So as I said, I'm Lauren and I'm a business development manager here at Enable, so I'm involved in really talking to prospects and understanding their challenges and seeing how we can potentially help with them. And today I'm joined by Ben Summerskill. So hi Ben.
Hi Lauren.
And what do you do at Enable?
Yeah, so I'm a customer success manager. So my job is to make sure that our clients are getting their value out of DealTrack, helping them understand what their objectives are for a system and achieve those, but also making sure they're having a good experience along the way.
Great. And how long have you been with us?
Just over 18 months now.
Great, so lots of experience. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about manufacturers and how a rebate management system can support manufacturers essentially managing their rebates. So we're going to be looking at kind of why manufacturers offer rebates in the first place, the challenges that they have with managing those potentially, and the options available to them currently, and also then why a rebate management system could be beneficial for them. So if you do have any questions as we go, please drop them into our Q&A and we'll hopefully answer as many of those as possible. Let's get started. So Ben, let's begin by setting the scene and discuss the kind of relationships we're talking about between manufacturers and distributors and what that relationship is.
Yeah, absolutely. So in basic terms, we have kind of three main parties. We have the manufacturer, the distributor, and the end user, or the customer. And it's this relationship between manufacturer and the distributor, which we're covering today, and the rebate agreement offered between the two of them, which is customer rebates.
Okay, so Ben, why do manufacturers not just sell directly to end users? Why do they use a distributor in the middle?
Yeah, so for manufacturers, they have quite an upfront cost with the product. So there's the cost associated with the R&D and actually developing the product, but there's also the infrastructure cost in terms of putting the production line together to actually produce it. So once they've actually produced the product, they just want to get it out the door as quickly as possible. And dealing with the customer starts to kind of put some kind of complexities around this. So, for customers, demand may kind of fluctuate, and to kind of ramp up and ramp down production be quite expensive typically for manufacturers. Likewise, with manufacturers, they want to be selling the product out in bulk, whereas customers are probably wanting, smaller numbers of product, which again adds more complexities and kind of hassle for the manufacturer. But likewise, the customer doesn't want to be dealing with the manufacturer. They don't want to be dealing with different manufacturers across the country to get specific products for their project. They kind of want one place to go to. And this is really where the distributor fits in. So it's kind of smoothing that relationship out. So for the manufacturer, the distributor's buying the product in bulk and there's kind of consistent demand from them there. But likewise, for the customer, they've got a one-stop shop where they can go to find all the products they need for their project. And the distributor can also handle that relationship as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of a dual benefit there for manufacturers and end users to have that someone in the middle managing all of that. Great. So why then do manufacturers offer rebates to distributors in the first place? Yeah,
so for manufacturers, it can be quite a tight market. So you've got multiple companies out there producing similar products, all vying for market share. And in simplistic terms, rebates act as a kind of loyalty program to the distributors, encouraging them to stock and sell their products, providing mutually profitable growth. That being said, we're also seeing some forward-thinking manufacturers going a step further. And for them, customer rebates are a key part of their growth strategy. And they're treating distributors as true partners and see rebates as a way to kind of treat their distributors better. And what they do is work together and put kind of joint go-to-market strategies. So, for example, a manufacturer might work with a distributor and incentivize them to buy a particular product to sell in a particular market sector, which both parties have agreed on, providing benefit for both the distributor and the manufacturer. Alternatively, some manufacturers we've spoken to, what they do is they're incentivizing distributors to promote synergies within their products. So rather than selling one particular product for a project, encouraging the customer to buy systems from the manufacturer.
So in a nutshell then, Ben, rebates offer the opportunity to increase market share, increase sales, and build on that loyalty with their trading partners, essentially.
Absolutely.
Okay. So given then we've discussed why kind of rebates are offered in the first place, what are the challenges then for manufacturers in managing those, for example, without a system currently?
Yeah. Essentially, for manufacturers, they're facing the same issues as distributors face without a rebate management system. It's just a different side of the coin. So where the distributor is, claiming rebate, the manufacturer is paying out rebate. So I guess we look at it from the different teams. So for the finance team, they may be unsure of what deals are in place because they're stored in someone's filing cabinet, someone's desktop, or even in the emails of someone who's left. And then there's the kind of a calculation aspect for them. So they may be struggling to calculate the rebate due as there's issues linking the deals they have in place to the data. And or there may be particular targets or triggers built into the deals that aren't called out effectively or are therefore difficult to attract. And all of these combined can really lead to the finance struggling to accrue correctly, which, given the news articles we've seen, it can have some serious consequences. Accounting rule changes and more regulatory pressure means it's no longer enough to deal with rebates in an ad hoc or estimated way. Again, you need to kind of show proof of where you've come to this, your accrual. If we take the commercial team, if their deals aren't being managed appropriately, they aren't driving the right behaviour from a distributor. For a manufacturer, they're paying rebate to the distributor in order to get something back. And in this case, it's growth and loyalty. And if they aren't managing the deal, they could be losing out on driving this behaviour, for instance, highlighting to the distributor to buy more products if they're close to hitting a particular band or tier. Therefore, monitoring is more important to the manufacturer than it is for a distributor. And not having a system can make it really difficult for the team to have visibility of this information. And overall, if the rebate is poorly managed, that could damage the thing that it's trying to promote. If your rebate and sales data is inaccurate or difficult to share, manufacturers end up getting involved in long and unnecessary disputes with the customer when they're filing their rebate. And this ultimately is undermining really the relationship that the program was designed for.
Okay. So Ben, I know from talking to manufacturers, it's something that's on their mind as well as on mine, is that they're obviously paying out rebates. So why would they pay for a system that's telling them accurately how much to pay out? Could they not just use Excel for that, where there's kind of limited costs there as well?
Yeah, it's understandable why you might be resentful to pay for a system which can exactly tell you how much you need to pay out to the cent or the penny. And spreadsheets seem like an easy option out, easy to get started with, no additional cost really to the business, and users are familiar with that interface. However, what we typically find when speaking to other manufacturers is that it quickly becomes unmanageable, and as more and more rebates are added, different types of agreements, more distributors you're dealing with, you're adding more and more sheets onto the spreadsheet. And it ends up causing a lot of headaches for the users, using up a lot of admin time just managing it. And as the spreadsheets become increasingly complex, maybe only a small number of users are actually confident to make the edits or changes to the spreadsheet, which is putting a lot of burden and dependency on these key users. And on top of all of this, there's, it's hard to actually get the data out, which limits the reporting capabilities for wider business if they're spending days or even weeks at a time pulling together a simple report which someone's going to look at for an hour. So as we were saying previously, that's not going to be driving the right behaviour if you're not getting this information out.
So it's not then just about kind of calculating and tracking rebates accurately, but kind of, like you said, analysing that data, using it to its advantage then to kind of drive buying behaviour there as well. So it's not just purely about kind of having the rebate information and making sure it's accurate and correct.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so kind of, and what then about the auditing and kind of security risks there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of no real secret that auditors aren't usually a big fan of spreadsheets. There's no tracking there of who's made changes to the system, to the rebate deals, and of course the security risk with Excel, stuff like that. They're inherently dangerous. You have the ability for someone there to completely delete them or make changes, which can completely skew your whole rebate agreement. We've all been in that situation where.
Yeah.
Well, even Excel, and you click on the X, it says you've unsaved changes, would you like to save now? Yeah. And yeah, you have the ability there to kind of remove your trading agreements for whole of that year, or completely skew your values.
So given what we've just discussed there then, Ben, what is the benefits of manufacturers using a rebate management system? Yeah,
so it's really the inverse of what we were talking about earlier about the difficulties without a rebate management system. So originally where the commercial team had potential doubt or lack of clarity of the deals in place, they now have got this visibility and they can be more proactive with their customers. They can highlight to a customer if they're close to hitting a tier, increasing profits for both parties, building that loyalty with a distributor, as well as increasing market presence. The customer rebate is now doing what it's meant to be doing. On top of this, with most rebate management systems, the commercial team will have more complex deal types or mechanisms available to them, so they can create more intelligent deals to achieve their business goals. On top of this, they'll have historic data available to them without the system, commercial team can now review the team's performance and maybe revisit the deal in light of a year's sales patterns, propose tweaking its parameters, or kind of renegotiate it entirely. There's also the ability to kind of have the flexibility to amend rebate deals within the year to reflect business changes or mutual goals. So it's common for manufacturers to often introduce additional rebate deals for a limited period of time. For example, to respond to shifts in customer demands, push a particular product in a particular quarter, or maybe just support a new product launch. And while these kind of bolt-on deals don't change, for the underlying customer rebate, they still need to be recorded and managed and accounted for. And that can be really difficult to do without a rebate management system, but an absolute breeze if you have one.
Okay, so then what about the finance team, and what's potentially the benefit to those with a rebate management system?
Absolutely. So, with the rebate management system now, the finance team have, a central deal library so they can see the deals in place. It's no longer saved, on Bob's desktop. They can see these signed deal agreements with the distributors. On top of this, they've got the data coming in with the clarity of the deals, and they can therefore accurately see what rebate needs to be being paid to their distributors, but also they can accrue it accurately, so, taking a load off their mind. And on top of that, for the finance team, but also really the wider business, there's this granular reporting available at the touch of a button when they now have a rebate management system. So they can kind of perform this true profitability analysis on their products, as well as kind of see deal performance. So, a really powerful tool for the company to have.
And I guess then the auditing issues that we kind of spoke about with things like using spreadsheets are resolved?
Yeah, absolutely. Any rebate management system worth its salt will have an audit log built into it, so you now have complete visibility who's amended deals.
Okay, yeah, auditor's dream, I presume.
Yeah.
So Ben, I know that we currently have some clients who are manufacturers, and as a customer success manager, you're involved on some of those accounts. So maybe talk us through a bit about what your experience has been with them and what you think and the value that you think they've seen from DealTrack.
Yeah, so a lot of the points we've talked about today completely, resonate with them in terms of what their kind of business goals are. So, absolutely for them, as being a kind of bit of a forward-thinking manufacturer, they see that customer rebates as part of really their kind of growth strategy for the company and really treating the distributors as true partners. There's a bit of functionality within the DealTrack they really like, which kind of supports this, which is the watchlist app. And what the watchlist app does is it highlights to them for their different, trading partners, with distributors, how close they are to hitting particular tiers on their kind of growth deals, and therefore they can kind of pick up the phone and say to, distributor X, did you know you're this close to hitting this band? If you spend this much more, you'll hit it and get this much back in rebates. So, again, that's really helping the rebate do what it's meant to do, increasing that growth, but also that kind of supplier loyalty, distributor loyalty, which they're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's quite a forward-thinking approach, isn't it? I mean, typically manufacturers are probably just thinking, I'm just trying to find my data and or calculate accurately, track those rebates accurately. It's quite forward-thinking, I guess, to say, I'm really looking at the relationship with my trading partners here going forward and how I want to build on that and make sure that's successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably a minority of manufacturers having this kind of, as you said, forward-thinking approach of actually treating the distributors as true partners. But I think it's, will really pay off for them. I think we'll see kind of a shift in this marketplace of moving towards this and really encouraging and building these relationships with their distributor. Yeah.
So maybe, just a difference of priorities right now, but going forward is something really to consider for building that.
Absolutely, definitely.
Okay, so to conclude then, what we've really spoken about today is kind of who's involved here, so manufacturers, distributors, end users, and why their manufacturers offer a rebate to distributors. So the idea of kind of increasing that market share, building on that loyalty and growth really then for both. And what the difficulties currently are for manufacturers in managing those rebates, not using a system. So similar to distributors, as we said, kind of locating the data, using it to its advantage to really drive buying behaviour. And we kind of discussed as well, why would manufacturers pay for a system in the first place that tells them how much they're paying out, but really looking at kind of the additional benefits there of not just kind of calculating and tracking rebate well, but using that data, as I said, to its advantage and going a bit further, and that's where you kind of see the value. And then we kind of spoke about, okay, what are the benefits to manufacturers from a rebate management system, specifically for, the finance team and the commercial team as well, in kind of setting up deals and encouraging their distributors to maybe spend a bit more to hit their rebate target and not only then grow their business but grow the manufacturer's business, so that dual benefit going forward. And then we kind of spoke about your experience, Ben, and how you found our current clients who are manufacturers using Deal Track and the benefits that they've really seen. Kind of similar what we've spoken about, really, and what manufacturers' goals are, and the use of rebates in the first place, and making sure they're essentially lived up to, I guess.
Definitely.
Okay, Ben, so let's take a look at some of the questions we've had coming in whilst we've been chatting. Okay, so we've had quite a few questions on SBAs and whether Deal Track could handle those. So maybe we should first explain what we mean by an SBA for those that maybe term it differently, and then, go on to discuss whether Deal Track can handle those.
Yeah, so SPAs, or special pricing agreements, also known as contract support or contract claims. What these are an agreement between a manufacturer and a distributor to supply products to a defined market segment at a specially reduced price. And this market segment could be a contractor, a specific installation site, a geographical location, any of those really. And the prices offered by the distributor are typically at a loss to what they usually do, offer the prices at. And this wouldn't really be possible if it wasn't for this kind of contract support from the manufacturer. Now, for the manufacturer, they're typically making less profit, but for them, they're benefiting from kind of increased sales, which is through the special pricing agreement. So that's SPAs in kind of a very simplistic nutshell. But to answer your question, yes, Deal Track can handle SPAs, and contract support, stuff like that. But of all things complex, the devil really is in the detail. So we'd kind of encourage you to get in contact with us, to speak to the sales team and see how Deal Track could help, solve your specific issue.
So we've had another question, and that is, what are the key features of a customer rebate management software that is off the shelf, I guess, like Deal Track?
Yeah, okay, I guess to start with, it needs to be able to create your rebate agreements with your distributors, which will use a variety of deal types, so you can kind of create those specific deals to achieve your kind of business goal. But it also needs to have a kind of approval process built in, so, getting sign off from different people within the business, but also from a customer. You need to have a place to kind of store the trading agreements, which is a searchable library by distributor. Also, obviously, needs to calculate the rebate automatically for yourselves, to take that hassle away. Additionally, you need to have that analysis for deal performance. So not only getting that reporting for the wider business, but also highlighting to your distributors if they're close to hitting particular tiers or bands. And I guess finally, kind of key topic we've been talking about is it needs to be auditable. Yeah.
Okay. And another question, we're moving away from spreadsheets and looking at an ERP or a rebate management system. So do you have any advice there?
Yeah, I guess after spreadsheets start to become a bit more unmanageable, it's common to look for something else. And ERPs can make sense. They're typically integrated with the business already. There's little or no additional cost to implement. Of course, there's greater security than the spreadsheets. And usually it has some tools with rebate management built into it. But I'll be honest, the deal types available to you through the ERP are very basic. So you either have to kind of sacrifice putting deals in place which would meet your business strategy, or use the simpler deals on the ERP and save the more complex deals for Excel or your spreadsheets. And then, of course, that increases the admin complexity involved with kind of looking after the rebate, because you've got two different systems there. It's going to affect the reporting again. So you're kind of hindering your transparency there of your distributors. So again, we're having that issue of we're going to get into disputes again, or not highlighting to customers or distributors if they're close to hitting a ban. So again, the rebate isn't doing what it's trying to achieve, really.
Yeah. So we do have some more questions coming in, but unfortunately we're running out of time as always. But do please keep those coming in. We're happy to answer as many of those as possible, and we will be back in touch with you. But thank you so much for watching today, and thank you, Ben, for your time. We hope you found that useful. Any feedback we welcome, and we'll take that on board for our next one, which hopefully we'll see you at. So if you are interested in learning more about Deal Track, please do get in touch on our website. We've got a button there where you can book in a time that's convenient for you, and also try Deal Track for free online as well. So please do take a look at those, and follow us on our social media channels. So we're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and keep up to date with what we're doing. But yeah, thank you for watching again, and hopefully see you at our next one. Thank you, bye.